which is a series of Tajweed lessons introduced by Quran University uniquely designed Quran learning management system with the purpose of introducing Tajweed in a modern and easy approach. Through this series of lessons, you'll be introduced to Tajweed rules using a unique, modern, and innovative approach to teach Tajweed, utilizing the color codes of Mus'haf al-Tajweed as a common denominator to link between those lessons and Tajweed rules. With such approach, we aim to make the understanding of Tajweed rules much easier and help you to practically apply those rules while reading the Quran. So let's start Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim with our topic for this lesson, which is Idghaam without Gunna for Nun Sakinah and Tanween. And the title in Arabic is Al-Idgham biduni Gunna li Nun Sakinati wa Tanween. In this lesson we'll be learning to apply the Tajweed definition of Gunna, Idghaam, and then the combined definition of Idghaam with Gunna. Then we will learn about the letters of Idghaam without Gunna. So basically, we have to differentiate between the previous lesson, which is Idghaam with Gunna, where the Gunna was added, and that was related to 4 letters, and this lesson, in which there is Idghaam without Gunna, where there are 2 letters that cause this Idghaam to be without Gunna. Then we're going to take examples of the Idghaam without Gunna rules, and then we're going to practice what we have learned by attempting to extract cases from the Quran and apply Tajweed rules to them. And we'll start by defining the color used by Mus'haf al-Tajweed for Idghaam without Gunna, which is the color gray. In our Quran learning management system, whether we're using the desktop version or the mobile version, in both cases we use the Uthmani script of Medina Mus'haf with Tajweed color codes, which we call Qawa'id Alwan al-Tajweed, where every Tajweed rule, hukum, is given a unique color code. The objective of these color codes is to alert us to the presence of Tajweed rules while reading the Quran. And among the colors used in this Tajweed legend, we'll find the color gray, which indicates merger, idgham, or non-pronounceable, al-idgham, wa ma la yulfad. So let's look for the color gray in this page of the Quran. Let's search for 2 converging letters, one of them given the color gray, or a tanween with the color gray, followed by the letter lam or ra. We'll find fawaylun lilladina. We realize here that the tanween is given in the color gray, indicating that it has idgham without gunna. So this tanween would be merged into the letter lam that follows it and without gunna to sounds like this, fawaylun lilladina. And that's our lesson for today, which is idgham without gunna, indicated or symbolized by the color gray in Mus'haf al-Tajweed. The relationship of tanween with nun sakinah, still nun. Now, what's tanween and what's the relationship of tanween and nun sakinah? As we said, nun sakinah is basically one of the letters of the alphabet with a sukoon, with still no haraka. Now the tanween, it is an extra nun sakinah added to the end of a name, any name, and it's written in the format of duplicate fatha or duplicate kasra or duplicate dhamma. So there are 3 types of tanween: tanween with fath, tanween with kasr, tanween with dhamm. And the example is as we see here for the word kitab. Kitab is a book. Now a book with tanween fath, kitaban, or kitabun, tanween dhamm, or kitabin, tanween with kasr, duplicate fatha, duplicate dhamma, duplicate kasra, and it is pronounced like this: kitaban, kitabun, kitabin. So basically, after the word kitab, there is a nun sakinah with a fatha on the last letter of kitab, and that's tanween fatha. So nun sakinah is basically a part of tanween. So tanween, the word tanween means adding a nun. Nun, tanween. So thus we conclude that the tanween adds a nun sakinah to the end of the word, and accordingly, same rules of tajweed that applies for the nun sakinah would automatically applies for the tanween. In the previous introduction about nun sakinah and tanween, we mentioned that there are 4 rules, 4 possible tajweed rules that would arise from the nun sakinah or tanween convergence, meaning meeting with another letter of the alphabet. And those 4 possible rules were iqlab, idgham, idhar, and ikhfa. And we said that the rule would be based on the letter that follows the nun sakinah and tanween, and in the case of iqlab, that letter would be the ba, and in case of idgham, there would be either those letters in green or the letters in gray. And we said if we have the ya, noon, mim, and waw, it will be an idgham with gunna, and it is mentioned in the green letters of the word yarmalun, while in the case of lam and ra, it would be idgham without gunna, which in turn is represented by the gray letters of the same word yarmalun. In this lesson, we're going to concentrate on the idgham, and in particular, we're going to concentrate on the idgham without gunna, related to the two letters in gray, the lam and ra, the ra and lam. In the introduction to the rules of an-nun al-sakinah and tanween, we gave an example on idgham. Idgham means assimilation or merger. And in the example we have given, min rabbihim, we can merge the two letters into one. So instead of saying min rabbihim, where each of the two letters, the nun and ra, are spelled clearly and independently, the nun would be totally merged into the ra. And that will make the nun disappear. So instead of saying min rabbihim, we'll say mir rabbihim. No nun would be pronounced, only a ra, and the ra will be like duplicate ra. It has shadda. Mir rabbihim instead of min rabbihim. Mir rabbihim. So, meeting of a still nun with a vowelized ra, or any of those letters. These letters would also have the same rule of idgham, would result in idgham, merger of the nun into the following letter, which is a ra in this case. And with that example in mind, we can now understand the definition of idgham. Linguistically, idgham means assimilation or a merger of two things together. While in Tajweed, applied definition, it means the merging of two converging meeting letters, the first being still, has sukoon, and the second is vowelized, has haraka, resulting in a single united stressed letter similar to the second in nature in terms of its articulation and characteristics. We'll quickly revise our definition of gunna that we have mentioned before. Gunna, or nasalization, is basically a nasalized sound emitted from the nasal passages without any function of the tongue. And it is an intrinsic characteristic of the noon and mim, yet it can be an incidental characteristic added to any other letter. And this is what we're going to avoid to do in this idgham without gunna. We shouldn't add a nasalization sound. The idgham here has to be without gunna. Now, since we have learned the definition of idgham and the definition of gunna, we can conclude the definition of idgham without gunna is an idgham that has no nasalization. So, idgham without gunna is the merger of a first letter, which is a still nun, nun sakinah, or tanween, with a second letter, vowelized, having haraka, mutaharrik, either a lam or a ra, and that merger is basically the idgham, and that has to happen producing a stressed lam with shadda or stressed ra with shadda without giving the merger a nasalization tone without gunna. So let's compare the two, the idgham without gunna and the idgham with gunna. For the idgham without gunna, there are two letters, the lam and ra, while the idgham with gunna has four letters gathered in the word yanmu, ya, noon, mim, waw, yanmu. Now, an example for idgham without gunna, min rabbihim, nun sakinah, followed by a ra, one of those two letters, ra. We merge the two together to become mir rabbihim, mir rabbihim, ra with shadda. We merge the still noon into the ra, producing a stressed ra, ra with shadda, mir rabbihim. Now the example for idgham without gunna, min ma, nun sakinah, followed by a mim with fatha, merging together those noon and mim produce mimma, mimma. Notice the gunna, mimma. Now the noon has disappeared, it has been merged, that's still noon into the mim, no noon here. In pronunciation, of course, in writing we still write it this way, and that produced a stressed mim with shadda as we see here. Again, mir rabbihim, idgham without gunna, mimma, idgham with gunna, mimma. Let's give more examples to illustrate the idgham without gunna. We're going to have examples for each of the two letters, the lam and the ra, for still noon, nun sakinah, and for tanween. Tanween here, nun sakinah here. First example, an, lan. An, lan, nun sakinah, followed by a lam When we merge the noon into the lam, it will sound like this. Allan, allan. So basically, as if we eliminate the noon and we make a lam with shadda. Allan. And notice there is no idgham here. Second example, min rabbihim. Same example we used before. Noon sakina followed by ra with fatha, merged together, min rabbihim. So pronounced as min rabbihim, but still written as a noon and a ra. But we pronounce it as if there is no noon. Min rabbihim. Examples for tanween and the lam. Mata'an lakum. Mata'an, tanween with fatha, and the lam following it with fatha. Those, when merged together, would sound like mata'an lakum, mata'an lakum, as if there is no tanween. Mata'an lakum, ain, directly with the lam, with shadda. Mata'an lakum. Again, this is the way it's pronounced. The way it's written is still classical way. The last example, غفور رحيم. غفور, we have a tanween with dam followed by a ra. When we merge the tanween, the nun sakin of the tanween into the ra, it will sound like this. غفور رحيم. غفور رحيم. No tanween, directly from the waw into the ra. غفور رحيم. And now let's put what we have just learned into a practical example. Look into this page of Quran and concentrate on the shaded area. And try to extract idgham without gunna and conclude the related tajweed rule from those shaded verses of the Quran. Please remember that the idgham, the still noon of idgham or the tanween of idgham would be put in the color gray because it's not pronounced. So let's search here. لذكر لك. ذكر. ذكر, the tanween is in gray, followed by the letter lam, so it's an idgham without gunna, and it will be pronounced لذكر لك. ذكر لك, as if there is no tanween. Another example here. Yes, here it is. Min rusulina. This time it's a noon sakina followed by a ra. Min rusulina. When we merge them together, we don't pronounce the noon, and it will look or sounds like min rusulina. Min rusulina. Another example into this verse. Min rasul. When we merge them together, the noon, which is in gray here, won't be pronounced, and upon the merger, it will sound like min rasul. Min rasul. No gunna. Idgham without gunna. And the last example is tawwaban rahima. There is a tanween here, tawwaban, followed by a ra. When we merge them together, we don't pronounce the tanween, so it will, and that's why it's in gray, and it will sound like this. Tawwaban rahima. Tawwaban rahima. And here we summarize the whole lesson into a single slide. There are two letters for idgham with gunna, the lam and ra, and the rule is to merge the still noon or the tanween into the idgham letter, the lam or ra, without gunna, and it's symbolized in Mushaf al-Tajweed by giving gray color to the noon or the tanween, as we see here for the noon, and then we give examples for each of the lam and ra, for the still noon and noon sakina, and for the tanween, and we explained each one in details. And with that summary, we reach the end of this lesson on idgham without gunna for noon sakina and tanween. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that bi'awnihi wa qudratihi, that the Quran learning management system, برنامج الجامع لحفظة كتاب الله, would help you, inshallah, to improve your tajweed and improve your tilawa and help you in improving your recitation and help you, if you want, in memorizing the Quran and to help you understand the Quran in the proper way. As we reach the end, we ask Al-Mawla Azza wa Jal أن يتقبل منا هذا العمل. We ask Allah Almighty to accept this work from us, and we ask you to make dua for those who participated in making this work come to life and reach you. Hoping you all the best. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome to our 10th lesson of our simplified Tajweed series.